I'm not sure if they're going to make another move for him at the moment. We know there's a strong possibility that he could leave Manchester United this summer. We also know for a fact that Chelsea were very interested in signing him last January. So I think it's a possibility. And obviously there's lines of communications open between the two clubs. The two clubs have very good relations at senior levels. They need to sort out the future of Jadon Sancho as well. So he is a player who has been a Chelsea target. I'm not sure, I don't have any information at the moment that they've made a move for him before the Club World Cup starts.
OK, so United seemingly have a decision to make on Garnacho, along with a host of other players. Now, the winger has cut a pretty unhappy figure in recent weeks, especially when he discovered he wasn't starting in the Europa League final in Bilbao. His overall season saw him play the same number of games as the season before, but score a goal fewer and record 2 fewer assists. And we know he ended the campaign out of the team and none too happy about it. Right, Dharmesh, there you are. Let's talk Bruno Fernandes. Is he going to be a Man United player come the start of next season?
I think the next few days are really, really crucial because we know that Al Hilal are prepared to pay around £100 million to sign Bruno Fernandes. They're prepared to pay him around £700,000 a week to make him one of the most highest paid players in world football. It's our understanding that Bruno Fernandes still hasn't made a decision about whether he wants a new challenge and to leave Manchester United for Saudi Arabia. We understand that he's speaking with his family because not only is it going to be a big move for him, it's clearly going to be a huge move for his family as well. So I think these are really, really crucial days, Mike, with regard to the future of Bruno Fernandes. As far as Manchester United are concerned, they do not want to sell Bruno Fernandes. They haven't received a formal offer as yet. And I'm told that they will only consider any kind of offer for Bruno Fernandes if, of course, an offer comes in, but if Bruno Fernandes makes it clear to them and communicates to them that he does indeed want to seek a new challenge. So that is a situation that Bruno Fernandes and Manchester United find themselves in at the moment. You could argue, look, on the pitch, they can barely afford to do without him because of how he performed last season. Where would they have been had Bruno Fernandes not performed like he did? But then off the pitch, you kind of have to ask yourself the question, can they afford not to accept a bid that is worth around £100 million for someone who's going to be 31 in September? He's got 2 years left on his contract at Manchester United. He signed it quite recently. It runs until 2027. United clearly don't want to sell, but if Bruno Fernandes makes noises, I want to see what they've got to say, see what they offer, then Manchester United will then weigh it up.
It's a really interesting one. As is Antony's situation. Is he coming back to United?
Well, by the terms of his contract, at the moment, he is. He had a really good spell at Real Betis, scored 9 goals in 24 starts for them at the back end of last season. It was a straight loan move from Manchester United to Real Betis. I'm told that lines of communication between Manchester United and Betis remain open over a potential deal. However, another club. And so they kind of took a calculated risk. They thought, right, if we can send him to La Liga, maybe that pace of football would suit Antony, and it did. It might raise his value. So now he's come back to Manchester United with probably a higher value than he did back in January. Now, the other alternative, I'm sure there'll be other suitors for Antony. There'll be other clubs who will come in for him simply because of how he performed for Betis, is an unlikely scenario, but still a possible one, because he's still a Manchester United player. So could he yet be reintegrated into the Manchester United squad under Ruben Amorim?
Why would it be any different?
Sounds outlandish at the moment. It does. But if I was to compare the two situations that they had earlier on last season, Marcus Rashford and Antony, they both went on loan. Marcus Rashford to Aston Villa, Antony to Real Betis. In the lead up to Marcus Rashford going on loan to Aston Villa, he was completely admonished from the Manchester United first team squad. He wasn't involved at all. If you look at Antony's situation, since Ruben Amorim took over, and from the first game that he took over at Portman Road against Ipswich back in November, up until the point that Anthony left on loan for Real Betis, Anthony was involved in every single one of Ruben Amorim's squads, bar one. So you can see that Ruben Amorim might have seen something.
Didn't play much though, did he, Darmish?
He didn't. But the fact of the matter is he was still being involved in the squad and he was still coming off the bench in some of these matches as well. Didn't get the amount of game time that Ruben Amorim would have wanted to give him or Anthony himself would have wanted. Hence, he's gone out on loan, performed as well as he has, and maybe could he come back and pre-season training, Ruben Amorim take another look at him and say, yes, maybe I'm going to give you another chance, see what you can do, or with a higher value, Manchester United can get a bit more money for him if they were to sell him.
Could this happen?
It could. It's a really delicate situation from what I'm hearing. I'm told now that Bruno Fernandes is now discussing with his family about whether he wants to go to Al Hilal and move to Saudi Arabia or remain at Manchester United. He's obviously their captain at Old Trafford. It's thought, though, it's going to be a really, really tough decision for him to make because 30 years old, it's life-changing money that he would be paid. I think Carve was mentioning before, is it something like £700,000 a week? I mean, that is absolutely crazy, crazy money. And as far as Manchester United are concerned, the talk is that Al Hilal would be prepared to pay £100 million to sign Bruno Fernandes. This is a player who's going to be 31 in September. It should be said here, Manchester United do not want to sell Bruno Fernandes. Ruben Amorim, publicly at least, has said we want him to stay. And when I speak to Bruno Fernandes, the impression I'm getting is that he does want to stay. Now, it should also be noted there's been no offer officially from Al Hilal. All we're hearing is that this is what they'd be prepared to pay. So Manchester United don't have to make a decision at this stage. The only way that Manchester United, I think, would consider selling Bruno Fernandes is if Bruno Fernandes made it clear to them that he wanted to move, and then that would set the wheels turning for Al Hilal to come in with a formal offer. Up until that point, it's just, well, we'd be prepared to pay this. I'm talking to my family, and then I'm going to decide what I'm going to do. So it is a little bit of a knife edge at the moment, but Carve's been covering this story quite a bit in the last couple of weeks. They want to get it done as soon as possible because of this.
Club World Cup, yeah.
I mean, Al Hilal,
£100 million, you've got to take it, surely. If you're rebuilding your club, which United are, they can do a lot with £100 million.
Before you get, it'll be up to Bruno Fernandes still. Even if they offer £100 million, if Bruno Fernandes doesn't want to go, he's still under contract until 2027.
But for United, surely, who need to get players in and whatever, £100 million is going to help, isn't it?
I think it would be difficult for Manchester United to turn down that kind of money for a player who's going to be 31 soon. I know he's a very, very important player for Manchester United. He's an exceptional player. But we hear a lot about the supposed financial problems at Manchester United. You've got a situation where, unfortunately, a lot of people have lost their jobs. So against that backdrop, could Manchester United really turn down £100 million for Bruno Fernandes? Everything that we're hearing coming out of the club is that, yes, they would. He's not for sale. But the old cliche in football is, of course, that every player has his price. And I think that even if Bruno Fernandes didn't particularly want to go to Saudi Arabia, could we have a situation where some pressure was being put on him to leave, to balance the books?
Well, when Sir Jim Ratcliffe came in, he said everybody had their price, didn't he?
What we should also say here as well is £100 million, yes, you're saying it could be vital for Manchester United because they want to rebuild. But I think primarily, in an ideal scenario, they want to rebuild with Bruno Fernandes. Yes, he's 30 going on 31, but I mean, he had an absolutely incredible season considering Manchester United had such a poor season. He was a standout performer for them. There is that argument as well, like in the past, Manchester United have let big name players go, but the rest of the squad have stepped up and they've kind of come out of the shadow of that big player. But you could argue, have Manchester United got the kind of quality that they had back then to climb out of a key player's shadow? But this is definitely one to watch in the next few days, because something's going to have to come to a head sooner rather than later.
Well, speaking of key players, well, he's possibly on the move, but another key player, Kevin De Bruyne, Darmesh.